Sorry, I was napping.
Apparently.
What's up, everybody?
We're back from hibernation.
That's right. We have put out our dumpster fires, woken up from our naps, and it was a callback to the last episode.
Oh, wow. You did you go back and listen to it?
I caught it.
I was here for it. Why do I have to listen to it?
I didn't go back and listen to it. That's why I asked.
That's the sleeping part of the discussion.
Yes.
Out of hibernation.
Yeah.
I mean, I've still got dumpster fires, but whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't think they ever
new.
go away. Yeah,
they
exactly.
Long as
Sometimes
you're
they're
making
just
s'mores.
trash can fires. Yes, that's it. That's the only way to get through.
Yeah.
Let's just make more s'mores.
I'm baking something, I'll tell you that.
Well, what's up, everybody? I'm so happy that you guys are here with us. I hope that you are having a good time playing games, hanging out with friends, things like that. Welcome to episode 239.
Good
239
Lord. How
of
did
the
we get
Established
here?
Facts. Well, we started one day, hit record, and then haven't stopped. That's
We rotate out gear. We think
have-
we're talking about the same topics, but we're not. Or
Right,
We are. and
absolutely.
We had different people sitting at the table now of varying hair lengths. It's a thing.
And different hair color.
Yeah.
This is a different color
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
last time,
very,
too.
very different hair
you know.
lengths.
That's right.
Yeah. I my hair length transitioned between the last 24 hours.
Yes,
as a
it
matter of
did.
fact.
That's true.
Yeah, so
It's crazy how that happens.
you get into a fight with a
Barber.
and they win every time.
What's his name? Sweeney Todd.
They win it. Yeah, well,
That was the
Sweeney
fault.
Ted. It was his
Oh,
cousin.
okay, it's his cousin. All right,
His
all right,
cousin.
well.
Yeah.
The demon barber of 4th
Oh
Street.
my goodness. That's it. Well, hey everybody. I am glad that you are here with us to join us. We're gonna get into our episode, but first, let's go ahead and go around the table. We'll go. It's I guess it's daylight savings time is now over, so we'll just mix it all up and we'll go counterclockwise, like we're in the southern hemisphere.
Rebel.
That means you're first.
This is Josh.
Counter. All right. This is Jason.
This is Dr. Deb.
That's right. On our cameras and our mics, we have Lance. Hi, Lance.
How you doing, everybody?
Woohoo.
And of course, I am your host, Big Don. So on episode 239, we were going back and forth on a couple of subjects, but I think what we've landed on is we want to talk about competitive gaming versus cooperative gaming. So we'll do a versus topic of what you prefer, competitive or cooperative. We'll talk a little bit about it's all right. We already know that you're a fence sitter, Jason. It's
Hey,
okay.
I've already confessed that I'm going to be a fence sitter, so this is
Well,
going to be the most
all
boring
right.
topic
No,
ever
it
because
won't.
we're all going to sit on fences
No, it won't.
and just hang out up there and
No,
have a drink.
that
Because
won't
those
happen.
of us who are competitive are going to... No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
Then we're going to have to fight on the fence.
That's right. And we'll talk a little bit more about more of a discussion about like what importance winning has in gaming and how it can positively and negatively affect games. So yeah, I guess we just that's the shortest amount of time I think I've gone into an intro without it turning into like an ADD tour bus.
That's because you were running late to work.
What?
He was running out of time. Woke up late.
Oh.
Woke up from
Okay.
his nap. Really? Are we thinking too hard into this?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
we
think we
really
are.
are.
I think
It's
we are.
daylight savings time. Blame it all on daylight savings
That's right.
time.
That's right.
I
We
don't even know
lost
what
an
day
hour.
it is. I don't know
Hey,
what time
I got
it
to
is.
sleep an extra hour this morning.
Nice.
I know. I was like,
That
it's
must be
great.
nice.
That must have been nice. He's the only one who got to. Right, cool.
That's how that works.
Yeah,
That's
the
it.
worst.
That's
in
it.
the fall.
That's it. In the fall is right.
Plus, we don't know what season we're in.
Hey, I
winter,
just wake
spring,
up and it's
fall.
whatever time it is. And
That's
how
it. And you just kind of go from there.
My
All
clock,
right.
my phone was correct. What was wrong with my stove?
Right.
I don't.
Right.
And there's the ADHD trip that you all were
See, I
missing.
spoke too
right
soon.
there. See?
I spoke too soon. All right. So, ground rules for the versus topic. Quick answer. What you prefer. If you want to be a fence sitter, that's fine. Just say, I'm on the fence. And then we'll go in and talk about our discussion on why we feel the way that we do. All right? Participants ready? I'm going to really mess you guys up because I'm going to go the opposite direction that we introduced ourselves. So I'm going to start with Dr. Deb. Dr. Deb, cooperative or competitive gameplay?
Fence sitter.
Okay, all right. Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Dr. Deb. Both. I like them both
Okay.
for different reasons.
Okay. I'm going to get Lance's and then I'll come back
okay.
for you. Lance, cooperative or competitive game player?
Competitive, cooperative.
He's joining us on the fence. It is
No,
an
no.
incredibly comfortable fence.
I like games where cooperative teams get to be competitive against other cooperative teams. We
Yeah,
call those
those-
sports.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Those are super fun.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I
That's
see you.
harkening back to our 2016.
That's exactly where I was coming from. Okay.
He's got his own fence, and it's actually kind of a nice fence. I think I might, hang out on his fence.
You got to be careful. It's wrought iron.
That's true.
Make sure you get your tetanus shot before you sit down on that fence.
I am good on Tdap.
Joshy.
Cooperative.
Oh man.
Oh, Donald. It all rests
Yeah,
with
I'll be
you.
I
told.
thought it
Right
was
there
supposed to
with
be
you.
really quick,
Well,
Don.
I have a reason,
Yeah.
but I'm still to be short.
You know what? I'm gonna say competitive. I'm real close to being a fence sitter, but I'm gonna say
Join us on the fence.
more than 51% is competitive. That's where I'm at. More than 51% is competitive. So well, since we're outnumbered, let's just go ahead and start with the mass of
You're not
humanity.
outnumbered. He's competitive. Lance is competitive.
Well,
He
that's true. He said-
he's just got the team element.
That is
to
true.
It.
The team competitive, where there's a cooperative goal. Yeah, Lance, go ahead and, if you don't mind, Lance, kind of give us a reason why you went that direction with your competitive, cooperative nature.
Because no one else was.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
That would be you.
Contrarianism. I see.
Yes. This is the shocked face. Said no one ever.
No, I was watching hockey earlier, and I just thought,
Oh, there
I
you
like
go.
hockey. I like when teams go against other teams.
Hockey's
There
a
you
fight
go.
with a game breaking out in the middle
Right.
of it.
That's the mini game inside the game.
It actually is.
that's right.
Totally is.
Tap X, tap X, tap X.
Okay, well that didn't get us very far because he just said he
all
didn't
right.
be contrary. So
That's
where are we
all
at
right.
now?
Jason.
All right. So why both? Because it kind of, the reason I was thinking it sort of goes to Lance, but I'm thinking the game world, right? Like I like team games, but where you are against other players. So there's a cooperation among your team, and you're competing. It's like Secret Hitler is probably one of my favorite games.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't know whose team you're on. It's wonderful. But for cooperative games, there are a bunch of great games out there that I like to play with Avital. And Avital's bigger into cooperative games. And they're a lot of fun where you're all trying to get to the goal. You know, games like Sentinels of the Multiverse and things like
Yeah.
that. Like those games are just really a blast and fun to play with friends. And that's why I'm like, they're both really fun. It just depends
Yeah.
on who you have sitting at the table.
Have you gotten a chance to play Zombie Side?
Yeah. Oh, Zombie
Oh,
Side's a
that's
blast.
such a great one.
Although that's one of those that is cooperative that can become competitive.
A little bit,
can.
yeah. Especially if you got somebody who just wants to run away with killing zombies.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know they're doing another one?
The White Plague
What?
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I
Such
also
a
love
good game.
Catan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like just
exactly.
straight up fun.
Just simple, competitive, solo. Solo. Yeah. I agree. Deb?
Yeah, it's a similar idea. It depends who's at your table, because there are certain people who I am.
No, I think
absolutely
it depends
fine.
on who's at your table.
Depends on who's at my table, my very large and in charge table. Yeah, because there are certain people that I love playing a competitive game. I like playing competitive games against you and Bonnie, for instance, because there's plenty of sense of humor there. I like playing them against my brothers. I'll be honest. We do not play nice, but we're all on the same page, and we all know it's going to be cutthroat, and I'm going to come after you, and I know that's how you play too. But then there are others. For example, I can't imagine being cutthroat with Princess Katie. I feel guilty. I feel like I'm going to like hurt her in some way if I'm like going to be playing mean. So I'm like, I'll play and be nice. Have you guys seen her in a competitive game, Scary? Because I don't ever. She seems like, let's just all play together and hearts and rainbows with our Ugg boots.
It's
That's
all
what
over.
it
It's
feels
all
like.
over. All the Ugg boots.
I don't know the game that Katie brought a couple episodes ago.
Spectrum?
Spectrum.
Yeah, was not, that was competitive.
Yeah.
Yes,
But I get it.
I
Personality.
don't know.
It was competitive and also introspective, so it's kind of like shady competitive.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's competitive, but it's like it's a party game.
Competitive lights.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I
It's
think
the
competitive.
psychological thriller of party games.
Oh, that's great. Well, I think party games tend to be a little bit like that, right? Like
Yeah.
they kind of
Yeah.
feign that competitiveness, but then there's a lightheartedness to the actual gameplay. So
Yeah,
Right.
like Apples to
Yeah.
Apples or
Yes, exactly.
games like that too. Those are
Yeah.
competitive games.
Who wants
Right.
to be a
but
millionaire or whatever? Yeah.
they're just super fun.
Yeah.
Lance?
Agreed.
I will tell you that I don't appreciate the game where everyone is trying to be cooperative, but one person is being competitive. So you have the betrayer aspect. Those are games that I
House on a
don't.
Hill, which is back there.
So, a comment on that one. I agree with you. If it's a secret betrayal, I don't like secret betrayals. Knowing one is coming, like Betrayal at House on the Hill, totally different. Because at least you know it's going to come. You're not sure who it is, but you know it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, Secret Hitler, same thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
Except with Betrayal at House on a Hill, you don't always know it's coming because some of those
There's
of the
one.
choices is it one?
Yeah, there's one
Okay.
where it's everyone against the house.
Right. But to me, then I'm not really sure. What if it's
Out
that
of the
one?
base game. Yeah, out of the base game.
What if it is that one? Are you really my enemy or are you not my enemy? Like, I don't know that I believe you because maybe this is part, and then that just doesn't get fun to me because then what am I doing? Do I
It's the
hate
sa-
you or not?
It's the same reason people don't like Are You a Werewolf?
Yeah.
I do like that game.
I do
I
like
very
werewolf.
much do.
I love
It's
werewolf.
a deductive reasoning game.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Social deductive reasoning.
yeah.
Which is where Secret Hitler comes in as
Exactly.
well.
Exactly.
And I haven't
the
played
other-
Secret Hitler yet, but I've heard
super
the
fun.
rules and I'm like, I'm down. This sounds hilarious
There's
to me.
another
I
one.
played at War's
I've
House
already
a lot.
I've already heard and said Hitler on this podcast more than we've ever said in the entire existence
It's
of
correct.
it because
Yeah,
of
but
just talking
it's
to
the title of
Stevie
the
Wonder.
game.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
about
it
a
is.
game,
I don't mean it
not
negatively.
about-
It's just
yeah.
funny the fact that we've said it so many times. I'm like, why did I just realize that?
I mean, they
Anyway,
shouldn't have made a good game called that. But,
right?
you know,
Whatever.
they did.
But it's a social deduction game, but people don't like the paranoia of it. Like you think you've gained trust in somebody. This is, I know, part of the reason
Yeah.
why Avital doesn't like
Yeah,
to play it.
100%.
She is very trusting of everybody. They are, and it's not wanting to think paranoid about someone else.
Yeah, that break of trust is hard for some
Right.
people.
Which is part of the I made the comment that I'm kind of like you, that 51% on the cooperative versus Are You a Werewolf? I love everything about it.
Oh, yeah.
I've had to draw lines. My wife and I do not look at each other and ask if the other one is a werewolf because we're pretty good at figuring out if the other one's
Yeah.
a liar.
Yeah, my wife does not even play the game with me anymore. I mean, honestly, because of just what you said, that breakup trust sort of, it can be hard when you allow some of those emotions to leak into the actual like relationship. And I think each person has a right to their own
Yes.
convictions.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah,
if you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like it's going to negatively affect an actual relationship, then by
Yeah.
all means,
Yeah.
don't. The rule in my house is if it's not fun, don't play it.
100%.
Yeah.
And if you don't find fun in that sort of a gameplay, then it's okay to just say, you know what, I'd rather not.
Completely
Okay,
agree.
thank you so much.
Yeah. And but from the cooperative side, which is why I tend to lean more towards that, is for the most part, everyone can be involved. And that is very much the extroverted feeler in me, is that everyone can be involved. And like, I love King of Tokyo, but losing in the first round sucked. Because I sat there, which is fine. I had fun with it and messed around with it or whatever. But for others, it's not as good because you get kind of knocked out. Those can happen in cooperative games. But because everybody's cooperating, for the most part, you're still able to help each other out, like make suggestions. Unless ghosts don't talk, and Are You a Werewolf?
The dead do not speak.
So I'm a more of a get everyone involved, which is also why I like the party games. Your even Cards Against Humanity, $1 Million, but apples to apples. Even in those instances where it's competitive, everyone is involved all the time, and that makes a big difference to me.
That's why I like Sentinels.
Yeah,
Because even when you go out, you have something you can do. You can still, I'm down, but let me help my ally use another power or
Yeah.
play another card or whatever.
Marvel Champions is the equivalent of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Over here
There's
somewhere.
yeah.
It's very good. Yes, Deb.
So I will actually play a little bit of devil's advocate as to a reason why cooperative games are not always your best choice, because certain personalities in certain games, if you know a cooperative game really well and you are introducing it, it can be too easy to just run it yourself.
Yeah.
Meaning, so for example, Captain is Dead. Love that game. So much fun. Cooperative, it's you versus the emergency that's happening. But when I've introduced it before, if the other players aren't confident in what they're doing, I will step in and be like, well, if I were in that role, I would do that, and that, so that he can do that, and that, so that he can do that. And before I know it, I'm playing the game for the four other people that are there. That's not what the point of a cooperative game is. So if you have certain personalities, you might just need to either watch yourself if you're the personality who's going to take it, or maybe a light competitive game is better, because then each of those lighter personalities can play their own game and you're not playing for them, but your social, the game that Katie introduced us to, or Apples to Apples are great choices because then they still play, but it's not a hardcore competitive. Thoughts?
Agree.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
No,
Yeah.
we've all run into that person that wants to take over the game. And in a lot of instances may have been that person. I'll admit
Oh,
to
yeah.
it.
Same.
But it's the learning to take that step back is also a big element of playing those cooperative games, is that understanding, which D&D, Pathfinder, whatever role-playing games help a lot with that, because there are a lot of us who have no problem taking the spotlight, whether it be because no one else is or because you absolutely have to do it. And there's big difference between I'm just taking it because I want to versus the game master needs help. Somebody needs to pay attention to what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
We need a leader in here, so what's going to be me right at the moment.
So
yeah.
for board games, similar things can happen. Similar games that Zombicide is one
definitely.
that can
Definitely.
absolutely happen with is I have no idea what to do.
Right.
So maybe the tip I would provide.
Pandemic.
Oh yeah,
Good Lord have mercy.
The tip I would provide on that would be to give guidance for the current turn,
Right.
not the next turn.
Right.
I need help
Okay.
right now. Okay, let it go on to the next person and see if they need help. Then you suggest, as opposed to just doing like you could do this and then you could do this and you could do this.
And I played around in my head already,
Yeah.
and like, oh, you kind of were supposed to play that for your round yourself. Sorry.
Lance.
Yeah, I was thinking about a cooperative competitive game, and it came up with Munchkin,
Oh,
where
yeah.
people work together to screw other people.
Yeah,
Red Dragon Inn. I mean, tell me you have not played Red Dragon Inn where you all ganged up on the one guy at the table. I mean, I'm sorry, or am I the only one that's played that?
no, it's
game?
just natural.
But
in that
right,
game.
it's the same idea. Well, okay, then you get that guy out, and then you're now it's 2 versus 3 type of a thing. To me, it happens that you're on a team, but you're not on a team with Red Dragon Inn.
But I love that game.
Yeah.
Red Dragon it's like probably one of my favorite cooperative games because it's fully still a party game. Like,
Yes.
who cares if you go out? You're
You're gonna
drinking and
Oh,
hitting
yeah.
each other, and
gambling your money away.
Yeah, it's like it's
and
just super fun.
that
It
would
is
be
a
another one that'd be
super
fun to
game.
play. Actually,
I
Yeah.
agree.
It'd be fun to play.
I totally agree. I actually have metal coins we could use too.
See?
I do
It's
too.
at home,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, it won't be to
I think he's got. I was
Yep.
gonna say. I think he's got that
Nice.
same set.
Yeah,
so.
that's super cool.
No, I did not. They're coming. I'm getting them in the next.
I've
few
got
don't
turns.
have the metal
even like
coins
the
yet?
little metal.
No, I don't think I do. Well, I don't think I do, but I have like a football-sized bag of the pop-out
Yeah.
gold ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That sits on the side while my metal coins hit the table. Yeah.
At any rate,
so-
future.
So I'm just glad that you guys are all on the same page with me now that we're all competitive game players and not so worried about being cooperative, because all of the reasons that you have cited why you like competitive games are the reasons why I like competitive games. And I think what I was kind of mulling over in my head as you guys were talking was I always approach a competitive game with a cooperative mindset, which
Tell
means
us more, Don.
which means I still have a goal to want to win, but not at the cost of having fun.
Okay.
The winning, though competitive, I enjoy competitive games because I enjoy being able to figure out the puzzle, being able to figure out the best strategy, being able to know how can I score the most victory points, how can I move along this track faster. But it's never I guess I won't say never because never is an absolute, but it's more than likely with the mentality of I'm just having a really good time playing this game with my friends. This is a really good time. That's where I get the cooperative side of things, is we're all having a good time together.
Okay.
But I want somebody to win. I want somebody to win that's at this table. And if it's me, that's awesome. If it's not me, that's okay. That's all right. I'm not going to be too worried about it. And then when I'm in the situations where I'm teaching someone how to play, or we're playing a game and someone's learning, I am one of the first people that if I have a Deb at the table who's like, so what you need to do on your turn is this, so that he can do that on your, and I'm immediately going to go, Deb, let them play their turn. And when they have questions, we can all answer those questions.
Right.
Like, because you're
Which is
having
the
a
nice,
good time.
polite way of
Yes.
telling me
Back off.
get back in your
Yes,
lane.
absolutely. Because I do the same thing. When I'm teaching my kids, I will give them the options that are present to them. I'll say, okay, so here are the things that you can do on your turn. These are the actions that you can take. Strategically, What you could do is this, and this, and then that's going to help you with that. However, it's totally up to you how you want to play. You do not have to do what I'm telling you to do. You can learn from your own strategy, your own mistakes. Maybe you have an idea in your head that you want to go this direction with your game, and I want to go that direction with your game, and I'm going to be leading you down a different path if you do what I'm telling you to do. And so that's why I think that there is a really strong learning arc with competitive games. Not to say that cooperative games don't have that, but I just think that there's an element of learning that you get more so in a competitive nature than you do in a cooperative nature. I think also games like Are You a Werewolf? Secret Hitler, two rooms and a boom, like those social deduction style games. I love those games because you are just compartmentally breaking people down to see what they're saying. Is what they're saying staying consistent? Is the way that they're acting staying consistent? Do you start to see? And what I also love about those games is they're a sucker for somebody over evaluating what's going on. Too.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I love that when you're just like,
Priceless.
oh no, I thought, but then I overthought, and you're like,
but then he said this, and I thought that meant it didn't mean that at all.
You kinda gotta look
It's
around
so
around.
good.
So
It's
what
so
do
good.
you think of this is a game that I'm always like, I know it's a game, but it's almost more of a theatrical tool. The Fiasco.
I love Fiasco.
Love it.
I love Fiasco.
That's another one that would be
Actually, what kind of a game is that?
So I think, obviously the title kind of gives it away in
Yeah.
general, but
It's a role-playing
I would
game, but-
consider that to be a group improv role play game.
Right.
Yeah.
Is
right.
what I would
Yes.
consider
Because
that.
that is so...
I think that if you have people at the table playing Fiasco that are good storytellers, then
yeah.
everyone wins.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Like in general. And if you have people that are not good storytellers, it's okay because you're also going to have a good time with it. Like I've played that game with
we need
people
to play
who
the new one that we just got.
Yeah, we have them.
Yeah, it's not Fiasco, but it's another one. I'm sorry, I'm slipping on the name.
Yeah, we'll go back to it.
That's
I know
right.
what you're talking about.
We'll find it. You know that new one. We need to play that, and I bet that would be another one that would be really fun to play on the podcast. We'll show it
Super
to you guys.
helpful.
It's up there somewhere.
So yeah, I think games like that are a lot of fun, especially because if you are into doing like lighthearted improv stuff, they set you up in the very beginning, which is
Yes.
great. They allow you to build your relationships right off the bat, which just kind of opens up those doors to storytelling.
Set your motivation, set your relationship,
Yeah.
set your place, and then let your imagination go wild with all the things that can go wrong.
Now, as opposed to a lot of the people at the table, I love betrayer games. I'm sorry. There is an element of backstabbery that I just love. And I don't know if it's from
You're our rogue.
yes,
That's why-
You are the
100%.
rogue.
Like
And a
mentally,
drow.
that's
Yes.
mentally I'm the drow rogue of the
You're
party.
not the only one. I also love them.
There-
Okay.
We're pretty
like
much the
there's-
same reason. We've had this conversation
Yes,
before.
like there's I love everybody having a good time. This is gonna sound really bad, and I don't care. I love everybody having a good time, but if I can have a better time, then I'm down. Like, and sometimes that better time is just throwing just a hint of chaos. You know, chili is great, but if you throw a little habanero in there, man, like I'm just
Spice it
saying,
up a little bit.
spice it up just a little bit. And the thing is, again, back to the credit of Lance identifying that, and my wife who does not want to play those sorts of games, like. I totally respect everybody having an opinion to say, I don't want to play games like that. It completely loses the fun for me. And then you know what? I'm not going to suggest a game like that. If we're sitting down and playing a game together, I know already that Lance and Deb are not down for like super backstabby types of games. You know what? Totally fine. Avital is really into cooperative games. You know what? That's awesome. Let's just focus on what everybody's going to have a good time with, because in general, I love games. I love spending time with my friends at a table playing any game, you know, and a lot of times I think we cater to role-playing games because we get a lot of those individual elements in a single role-playing game.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
You
exactly.
know, you can have the
That's how
rogue
you know
who
it's a
has a couple of
good-
hidden
good game.
agendas, but is not really trying to mess up the party. You can have like your cooperative team battles or team negotiations. You get a chance to kind of play with all of those different elements that you might find in like an individual board game.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
No.
All right. So, discussion question building off of that, right? We talked about competitive gaming, we talked about cooperative gaming, some of the things that we like and don't like. What do you think the importance of winning is when it comes to games, because there are so many games out there. There's more games out there where there's like a team or a single winner, even when you look at like sports and things like that, than games where it's like you're shooting for like a neutral position or something like that, or if it's okay to lose. So I guess my question is, when it comes to winning a game or winning in a competition, what do you find is the most important, or what is the importance of winning in games?
I believe you should win more often than not, but not 100% of the time.
Okay.
And I make that statement because, as we've mentioned, Zombicide has come up. I think Zombicide has about maybe a 40% win rate for us.
Yeah.
Like, more often than not, we're losing that game.
Yeah.
Yet I love it.
Yeah.
However, you can win it. And, I've made this comment to Deb before. It's guarantee every game that's out there, you can win it. You can beat it. Doesn't matter what it is. There is a way to beat it, or they wouldn't have put it out there. Now, they might put it out where you lose more often than not.
Right.
That is one negative I have against Zombicide. But that's the randomness to it as well.
Yeah.
That said, if you win every single time, it kind of loses its luster.
Yeah.
It's got no difficulty. It has no challenge then. It's
Right.
lost a challenge.
Yeah.
It needs to have a bite.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to know if the game's going to bite back.
Right. Or like for me, video games. I am not the person that you're going to see put it on the most challenging difficulty for a story driven game.
Yeah, I won't play
Yeah.
Dead Souls. Dead Souls or Bloodborne?
Dark Souls.
It-
Oh,
Dark
Dark
Souls,
Souls,
yeah.
Bloodborne, Elden
Elden
Ring.
Ring.
Like, no
Yeah.
thanks.
See, I will give Elden Ring Elden Ring did the one thing that the other games didn't. Give you the opportunity to run away. Go get stronger against somebody else and then come back and deal with this guy. The other three, the Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, none of those. You can't run away. You get into a fight, you die, and then you come back and you learn to die. That's what you learn.
Yeah.
Struggle with that one. But Elden Ring, you at least get the chance to run away. That said, I probably won't get very far in Elden Ring either. They won Game of the Year. They deserved Game of the Year. Mostly, I think God of War Ragnarok was better. But that's just because I don't like Elden Ring. I know, blasphemer. But like the Horizon Zero Dawn, Hogwarts Legacy, the Uncharted series, all of those are
Mass
just
Effect.
recent. Mass Effect.
Although
You're
that's
not
not
going
a
to
new
see me
one,
put
but-
those on hard difficult. Put me on story and let me enjoy what I'm doing.
Oh, man.
But WWE 2K23 or Madden, once I've put some reps in, I'll increase the difficulty, make it a little bit more challenging. Board games, kind of the same thing. Sometimes it's like, I want to sit down and play apples to apples. Why? It's easy. I don't expect to win, but it's easy. However, Zombicide, I put down at the table expecting to lose.
See, I actually like losing. This is more in the not the competitive or not necessarily in the cooperative games, more in the competitive games. I like losing in a competitive game when I can also take someone else out with me.
There you go. There you go.
And I'm like, I'm gonna lose, but so are you.
But I'm
That's
taking
it.
you down too.
That's why you like Red
hilarious.
Dragon Inn.
Oh
That's
yeah,
it.
absolutely, absolutely.
It's like, I'm Gurky and I'm going down, but I am definitely taking Deirdre with me.
And Blap.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's good. It's
Yeah.
and games like that are fun. Where you're playing the game, you're playing at the table with your friends. You know, it's not. I don't think it's always about winning. I think the cooperative games are much more about like challenge is good, but winning feels good as a group, and that's
Yes.
something you have fun together with.
Yeah.
Yeah, the competitive games though, no, I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
care if I win.
Yeah.
I even play poker that way, and people look at me with I have 4 heads.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
well, but you're losing money, and I'm like, maybe like $2, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, like I've commented with, I've played in a couple Texas Hold'em tournaments and everything, and I'm not a gambler or anything,
Yeah.
but if I'm going to play, give me a buy-in, like $20 to
Right.
buy in,
Yeah.
10 to
I know I'm
rebuy.
not getting that $20
Yeah,
back.
that's fine.
Because
Right,
I'll sit
exactly.
down, it's gone. If I win, great.
Right.
Whereas you won't see me play those types of games at Vegas where you could just keep throwing money at
yes,
it.
yes, same.
Nope.
Same.
Yeah.
With a bunch of friends, sure does. I don't care.
Yeah.
Or like euchre,
I came with this
tournaments.
much.
Right. This is my night. This is what I'm gonna have fun
Your
with
admission
tonight.
fee.
The admission fee.
Exactly. 100%.
Lance?
Yeah.
Oh, I was taking what you guys were saying about how you have some games where there's a difficulty at the very beginning that's a little too hard, and that took me back to my days of Dungeons and Dragons second ed.
Okay.
Where the DM would almost always kill a player or character, excuse me, in the first session, so that characters knew that there was actual danger.
Sure.
Because if you go through every scenario, oh, we won that one, oh, we won that one, it becomes less, and there's no fear, which makes you want to get better.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have, oh, death is a real possibility. I could lose this character, and as I get better, I don't want to lose that character. So you make better decisions.
Yep.
Well, I think that's important for to be. We talk about role playing games. I think it's important to be established up front. Like, how are you guys with player death? Because some
Character death.
Sorry, that's
Yeah,
right.
hopefully no
No,
players
we're-
will die at the
We're not
table.
the 70s or 80s anymore, where players die all the time in dungeons when they walk into caves and play with their friends. and
Oh
they
yeah,
get-
that'd be horrible.
Yeah,
Character death.
We don't do that anymore. That was hardcore D&D.
That was
Yeah.
we've
There was a whole
we've
movement
softened
against
it a
that.
little
It's too
bit.
bad. It's too bad we're too soft now.
I know.
Right,
yeah.
we've softened it up so much.
Like, well, we had 8 players and now we have 9, which I'm not really. Apparently, I'm not risking death enough.
Well, when it comes to board games, you know, you're gonna play them a few times to kind of figure out the difficulty level, and then you can compartmentalize each of those games. But it's important to win. But I don't know about anybody else. I still stand on you can't win every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that in a lot of ways, and again, as somebody who enjoys playing all sorts of types of games, I love getting the one over on the big baddie, or playing Star Wars Fallen Order and beating the Ninth Sister after 42 tries. Like that, you kind of finally feel rectified with the effort that you're putting in. But I think that at times, and this is kind of where I wanted to go with the conversation a little bit too, it can be at a risk, because winning can sometimes turn into a negative if what your focus is the winning over the experience, in my opinion, which I think you guys kind of touched on a little bit with. And this is a discussion that I had years ago with my wife. We were talking about the difference between gaming and gambling. Because when you're gaming, even if you're seeking a win, like even if you play at the most competitive and high level of games, Magic the Gathering World Tournaments, Pokemon World Tournaments, Catan World Tournaments, you're playing, even video game World Tournaments, you're playing at the highest level of execution, and you're putting things at risk, but by and large, and this is not exclusively true, but by and large, you are playing for the experience of being at the top and being recognized at the top level, but you're not necessarily looking for the same adrenaline rush that, say, a World Series of Poker player might. Because if you play Magic the Gathering and you get on the World Tour and you win a world champion, or you win a world championship, that game changes so frequently that the likelihood of you being at that same level the next year, it's not impossible, but you're not playing poker.
Yeah.
Right.
Poker doesn't change.
Right.
The players change, but the mechanics of the game never change.
never change.
The faces of those cards never change.
And the value of those cards will never change.
Absolutely. A royal flush is always going to beat everything else at the table.
There's
Exactly.
not like if you got an offsuit 2, 4, 7, and queen,
Yeah.
that's now the highest.
That's a
that
meta.
you can play.
You found a new meta. Yeah, exactly.
Precisely,
Like, what?
and that will never happen. Maybe that's
The
why I like
royal flush down
poker.
the drain.
I figured
exactly.
out the answer. That's why I like
The
poker.
royal flush down the drain.
Pretty much.
That's it.
toilet
That's
flush.
it. But yeah, I think that's what really separates people, even people who are playing at the highest level of a competitive card game or something like that. It's knowing that, and I think that's what puts so much passion in people's hearts when they do play those games, because it's like, what's the likelihood of me being in this position again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the risk is low.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the good
Absolutely.
thing.
What's my buy-in? What's my takeout?
Right.
And is this going to be, our friend Dow Boyer talks about being in like one of the first world championships for, what was it, Carcassonne?
Yes.
And how he's like, I think he was one of the only representatives from the U.S. So he's like number one in the U.S., but what does that really mean? And one of the things, it's a great story when he talks about his experience there. And that's what I think is so great about people who are interested in maybe playing a game competitively, but also understanding that this is a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
Like for me to be able to recapture lightning in a bottle
Yeah.
is pretty slim.
Yeah.
It's pretty, and that's not to say that there haven't been repeat champions. That you can't go out there and just put it all on the table and win time after time after time. And then there are people that are like exceptions to the rules. If you're talking, well, again, like games like chess doesn't change.
Thank you.
Strategies changes, players change, but chess mechanically doesn't change.
Well, to this day, your world champions in chess are studying the chess games from decades ago. Like
Right,
they're studying
absolutely.
the Bobby Fischer, they study Kasparov's games. Why? The game didn't change. And so their strategy could still win today because there's nothing that changed that gambit to this year, this year.
Right.
Now, does that mean they'll do that? Not necessarily. Maybe their style's different. But I love that you could study a chess game from 100 years ago and you can absolutely follow it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing. You try to follow a Magic game from probably 2 years ago, and I'm probably totally lost.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah, because the cards are going to be completely different.
Exactly.
The strategy is going to be completely different. The players are going to be different. You've got guys who are upsetting. They're upsetting players that have been at the highest level for years, coming
Right.
in with a deck that maybe they haven't seen, and then all of a sudden,
Chaos reigns.
right? Absolutely, they're not number one anymore.
Right.
Right, but so I could be wrong with the team, so forgive me. But I believe AJ McCarron, I think is who it is the quarterback for the St. Louis XFL football team.
Sure.
I know that seems so just out there. I haven't been paying much attention to XFL at all this year, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who's one of the co-owners of XFL, tweeted this out that the quarterback for that team took what could have been a 90% pay cut for being a backup quarterback in the NFL to play in the XFL so his son can see him play and not
Sure.
sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow.
So
Wow.
And that's a choice. I mean, that's a huge competitive choice. But is it Max Carlson? I cannot remember. He's like one of the top chess players in the world. He's incredible. But he did something very similar to say like he was not going to compete in the World Championship of Chess because he's won it back to back to back times. It's like, but I'm not pursuing anything at this point. Like I would rather step back and let other people
Right.
come in and take that seat.
That's what happened with Jeff Dunham. I know it's random,
Yeah.
but ventriloquist. But he won the world. Was it the U.S. or the world? There was a competition that he would win year after year after year.
Right.
And finally, he just said, "I retire," because no one was up to that level, and it became disappointing for everyone else because he was so far above. And so I think at that point, that's when you need to be the champion for whatever it is you're in, to be able to say, for the better of the people who are going to come after me, I need to fade out a little bit. And maybe he becomes the judge, or maybe he would do a special spot.
Yeah.
But you're willing to take the back seat so that these guys can go forward. Is probably a similar idea, right? So maybe that's another thing about competitive games. If you really are that good in your circle of friends, and maybe you are, can you imagine being in a close circle of friends with a world champion of Magic and him going, "Hey, you want to play a game of Magic?" I'd be like, "Oh, bleep, no. You're going to wipe the floor with me in like 2 rounds and I'm done." Well,
Like, yeah, if you're only using commons.
right. Well, okay, fair enough. Exactly.
You don't get to use your
Put limits
super
on it.
expensive deck that you paid more
Right.
money than I'm worth. for.
Right, precisely. So in that kind of a competitive atmosphere, to say, in that point, if I am that good, I need to back off and not be that good, or I'm going to be in the back and I'm going to be I'll be your cheering squad, but no, you need to enjoy that game. And so I think that's where competitive can be a little tough, is when you're that good. I'll put myself Mario Kart. When I play most people in Mario Kart, I can wipe the floor with them.
Let's play.
Okay,
Saying-
it's right in there.
here's the thing. It's
right in there.
I love it. Yep, it's there.
Hey,
'Cause-
Twitch stream.
Well, possibly we might make that work. But here's the funny thing about that is that I'm so good at this. You can get beaten. There's a
Oh,
different
yeah.
situation, but that's the thing is that
For most places, though,
Yes. I know.
I'm gonna win, and it's
Right.
not gonna be fun for other people.
There's always
that-
a faster gun in the West. I'll just tell you that.
That is very true.
well, and I know we've joked many times with Bonnie about her absolute love of Monopoly, And like we don't play with Bonnie because she's
That's a
cutthroat.
friendship killer game.
We don't play Monopoly with Bonnie. That's a rule.
But I will tell you straight up, I'll play Monopoly with Bonnie. I just give her a hard time. I have no problem playing with her whatsoever because
Yeah.
Monopoly, as you said, but much like the Super Mario Brothers Wii U game that came out, it's the friendship killer.
It is.
Stop popping my bubble.
Yeah. Yes. You just struck me off the cliff. Oh, it'll end. It'll wreck lives. Little bit of an. It's not a detour. It's in the same vein. I'd be curious to get your. So I want a thought. So, the game that's right over there, the war game. It's famous and it's in legend because of what an enormous game it is, first of all, and how long this game takes to play. It's underneath Life. It's right there. You can take out small countries. It's huge.
What's it called? Is it-
The war game.
Oh, the war game.
The
is what it's
war
called.
game.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Picture Axis and Allies, but the big brother is totally doped up on steroids, kind of a war game. And the challenge of that game, among other things, the complexity of that game makes it very difficult to play, not because the game itself is complex. There are so many moving parts and moving pieces. That is a team competitive game. Each player will play an individual country, and yet you are on the team of the Axis versus the Allies. So it would be kind of along the lines of what Lance has said. But that game, I'm wondering if I've missed the point the whole time in that game because, well, the point of World War II is you got to have a winner, right? You know, do the Axis or do the Allies win? But it's the main point of that game, because I was thinking back to when they played it at Gen Con all the time, was not necessarily who won. Many times I didn't know who won at the end. I would go over and I would watch for the moments in those games when you would have this enormous, Pearl Harbor turned into like all of the ships were at Pearl Harbor and they were just doing this throwdown and dice flying. I'm like, those were the moments in those games that actually made it fun to come over and see what on earth craziness are they going to do. And then I would probably go somewhere else because it was going to be 5 hours till someone won. So maybe the point of that game, maybe playing that game is actually way more important to just play the game and see what strategy happens. And if you never get to the end, oh well. Because right now it's sitting gathering dust, even though it's a really fascinating strategy game and there's a ton of things you can do in it. But maybe the whole point is not actually who wins, but what are the tactics and what is the thought process and how are the teams working against each other in the game. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah, those are strategy games that I like when you actually can't sit there and try to dictate what's going to happen next because it fully depends on the person that came before you, and that can completely change the landscape of the game.
Exactly.
So you might as well just sit back and not worry about your turn until it's actually your turn.
That's exactly what that game is. Oh yeah. I've seen so many times when someone had planned out and then the person before just blows up everything that they ever planned. And what do I do now? Well, you should have probably been, having a drink and just waiting for your turn to come. But I'm just wondering if bringing that out and playing one round of that, which could probably take about an hour and a half right there, because there's so much at the beginning of that game. But anyway, just in seeing and then next time coming back and playing the first round again and watching to see how completely different it would be. Like Don playing Russia versus me playing Russia is going to be a completely different play out.
Heck yeah.
See?
I love
or
playing
me
Russia.
playing the
I
United
love
States is
playing
going to be
Russia.
totally different from the way you play the United States in that first round. So I'm just going, for these games that are sitting here, I'm like, why haven't you played it? Because you've always thought you've got to get to the end. Well, it may be 2 days to get to the end of that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
those types of games.
is the whole point the journey in the game to see what those personalities, what those different strategy and tactics and the dice roll, may the odds ever be in your favor, what the dice rolls do with it. That might be how I need to get that game out again and actually play it so it's sort of playable.
Take a picture when you're done for the night so you can set it
There
back
you
up
go.
So you can
again
set it
next
back
time.
up
There you
again. True. Probably about 2 pictures for that one. But anyway.
Well,
Sorry.
I had 2 quick points on what we've been talking about a little bit, and we touched a little bit on Magnus Carlsen. By the way, I just remembered his
there it
name,
is. Thank
Magnus
you.
Carlsen.
Magnus Carlsen.
But
Sounds like a bodybuilder.
does.
well, he's a heck of a chess player. That's what he is. But we touched a little bit on like people who are masters in their craft, and doing really, really well. Whether it be a World Series of Poker, Daniel Nagano. He's one of my he's one of my favorites. Or one thing that we're also passionate about at this table that we tend to not usually talk about on this podcast, but on a different podcast, is like pro wrestlers. When you have guys like Chris Jericho who have been doing it for years and years and years, what are they doing? What is Bryan Danielson doing? They're promoting the next generation of people within the thing that they love.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I think that we are all five of us on this mic, and I would say everyone on this podcast, regardless what our expertise may be in or the years of gaming that we have behind us, we're always pursuing a new experience for new players, and a positive one at that. We may have, Jason and I may talk for hours about dark, gritty, nasty, dirty RPG games that have this really crazy flavor to them, but it's always in the light of how can we help someone experience something that's positive,
Yes.
that they're going to have fun with,
Yes.
that they're going to grow from.
Yes.
They may never play the game that we played with them together,
Yeah.
but they are experiencing something that is unique to that specific moment.
Yeah, you're
And-
here at the table right now. Let's make this cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not-
exactly.
Not crappy, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that these two things come into the comment that you had just made, that I think all games are a measurement of the journey. The beginning being the first steps of the game, the ending being who wins or who doesn't win, what team wins, what team doesn't win, whether it's cooperative or competitive. Because you're taking, there's something that we value more than everything else when we sit down at the table, and that's the time that we have together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
Yes.
for the 30 minutes,
You'll
the
never get
45
that time
minutes,
back.
right, exactly. The 6 days that it may take us to finish a game, all of that time that we're investing is time that we're investing in a journey for the completion of whatever this objective and task is. And then every other hurdle that comes up between that. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we sat down and played Pathfinder together. In the middle of our Pathfinder game, we had an adult conversation about things that were going on in people's lives.
Real
And
life.
what was real life, and what was so important to me about that is part of the journey of playing games together. That's why I love games. I have started multiple gaming groups or gaming ministries at church with the effort of saying, it may not be easy for somebody to sit down at a table and talk to me about who they are and where they come from, but if we sit down with a game in front of us, now all of a sudden some of those walls kind of melt away, because now we're just sitting here having a good time, and we get 20 minutes into the game and I say, you know what, Jason, hey, tell me about, how are your parents doing?
They're dead.
Exactly. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. They're not. No, I know they're not.
I'm playing Liar's
I
Bluff.
know that. But absolutely. But it's that sort of thing. Oh my gosh, I'm
That just
so
got
sorry to
real
hear that.
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick.
How is that? Has it been a while? Is there anything that I can do to kind of help you?
Yeah, and you bring empathy, and you bring
100%.
compassion, and you bring understanding.
Yes,
And, you bring
and
people together.
You bring people together through gaming.
As
Yeah.
opposed to
Yeah.
online games where they do the exact opposite.
Well, and
I-
that is a culture that we can definitely talk about in the future.
Dota and
Write that down.
yeah.
Legends and those games that are terrible.
There's
in
a
my opinion.
there's a culture of gaming that is definitely, I think, is
Toxic?
the antithesis of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and
World of Warcraft when it first came out.
yeah, LAN party, WoW, when you're just sitting around the table with a bunch of people yelling at each other about what territory they actually took or not.
Eve Online, when you have two enormous factions that
There
just
you
go
go.
just blow that
There you go.
out of each other,
Yeah.
and you know how many hours that took for everyone to build? Nope, don't care. We just
No,
hate each other. We're gonna
that's
destroy it all.
That's it. Well, and again,
Burn it down. Okay, Seth Rollins. Okay.
Exactly. You get my point.
Yes.
You get my drift. So yeah, I think that everything that you guys have touched on is definitely important to remember. Something that I want to examine for a little bit. I know we're getting probably close on time, but something that I want to examine a little bit is we talked a little bit about like role playing games and things like that. what do you all feel like is the importance of winning/losing a challenge or an encounter or something like that? And I know we talked a little bit about like character death and how that can change the perspective of the party when we're all playing together. But when it comes to like winning an encounter versus losing an encounter and how that changes or affects the dynamic of the party, what are your guys' opinions about that sort of thing? And like kind of, you know, because we also kind of like role-playing is a game, right? Role-playing game, but it's not like a Monopoly game where at the end you have one winner, right? That's not necessarily what we're pursuing. So
one moment, whether it be in a board game or a role-playing game, can literally shift the entire dynamic of the table. Two examples that can come, you know, we've mentioned this in the past before, but long-running 5-year role-playing game where we've reached, you know, 30th something level because apparently they were ridiculous and wanted to handle things at such a high level, and we're finally fighting the big bad boss, and as we get ready to start the fight, your two casters, including your cleric and sorcerer, turn around because they've been dominated by the main bad guy and start attacking you. Like your own players start happening. Completely changes the dynamic of how that happens. But on the same note, you'll have another role-playing one, but this just happened 2 weeks ago, or even, no, it was the week before that, before we had to end early or whatever, that your brother is, we're just an adventuring party of pirates that are trying to figure out what we're going to do next, and then the bard has decided he wants to become a marketing expert and market our group of players. We thought we were going on a serious adventure, and instead he's polling the bar for our name.
Yep.
But in that moment, in that encounter, it completely shifted what we thought we were going to do with these games.
The captain gets drunk off of her butt. That'd be me. Because she doesn't, this has gone completely off the, what are we doing? No idea. So I just get drunk off my butt and I'm basically done, except for the random ramblings of someone who's just had goblin rot gut, which is what happened. But we couldn't stop laughing. I think that was the part that I'm remembering the most, is how we were just laughing at how ridiculous this picture was. I had this cinematic picture of this bar scene and no, Rare Renegades, no, it's gonna be, and the bar in the middle going up, okay, yeah, what did you say over there? Okay, yeah, and the captain in the back with just horrified expression on her face. It was priceless. Yeah. So however it ended, that's the memory I have of that, is of laughing so hard we're almost crying because of just how great it was. And yes, it was all your brother's fault.
That's right. And that's how Renlock's Renegades was born.
It is. Right, that's there. Exactly. In a bar by a vote.
That's right. By
the bar voted.
A charismatic bard who had nothing else to do.
Yeah, that's usually what bards do when they got nothing to do. It's like, we're gonna make something up now.
We are, and we're gonna market this. We need to start. Maybe, you know, I forget how many marketing ideas he had.
I have them all written down somewhere. They're hysterical.
For winning and losing encounters as a party, and you know, I know it often comes down to players. Not often. I think some players, and I don't think this is the right idea, but they see it as the rest of the table versus the GM. And that's really not what the GM is there for. They're there to facilitate story and to make things a challenge, right? So sometimes you're going to fail that challenge. Sometimes you're going to blow that challenge out of the water, and sometimes you are going to succeed at that challenge, but with a complication of some kind, like one of your guys goes down or whatever. In something like Dungeons & Dragons and many other role-playing games, death isn't the end.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So a character dies, and there are many different ways to bring them back. And even the GM should and could potentially put something creative in there, like, all right, you went down. You got this weird artifact on you, so let me just slip you a little note and see what you think about that, buddy. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever it may be. Defeat in an encounter isn't always bad. It can teach the players to learn how to think more strategically together, or that, hey, you didn't have enough information going in and you thought you could do a thing and you were extremely underprepared. Or success can do the opposite, which give them, we've succeeded at this. We get a big head. We're going to do all these things.
We got this. We always got this.
Get to something that is a real challenge, they go, wow, we didn't.
I wasn't ready for that.
We weren't ready. We need to get more ready. And hopefully that's what it does. Instead of instead of having the mindset where, well, we're just the players versus the GM, it's like, oh, in this one scenario, yeah, we weren't ready. We need to shore up those things. Well, who can do what? Now when we go in, and Shadowrun's very much the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, crap, we went into that building and got hosed. Next time we need to make certain that the decker does this and this guy does that, and our rigger is here waiting for us to go, and blah, 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 right? So it gets you to think about that teamwork, and that's what I think is important, right? That's why I think defeat is okay, because it gets you to form teamwork in your party through role-playing or through mechanics. And people like, different things when they're playing tabletop role-playing games and focus on different things, but either or are perfectly fine.
Yeah. I think the example that I can think of, and I know that this has been frustrating at times for Dr. Deb, but it's not. I think that it is to the credit of the party as a whole. But the game that where I'm running like the little one-shot in between stuff, Josh is actually running us a party of 5 through the Age of Ashes storyline, which I think 1 to 20. It's like levels 1 to 20.
The whole thing is 1 to 20.
So in 6 books worth of encounters, we're going from first level to 20th level, which is a crazy curve to experience because literally after almost every session, we're gaining a level. So it can be a little difficult to understand the curve that your character is taking versus like a more long spread out campaign where you're maybe gaining a level every 3 sessions or every 4 sessions, because you kind of get the handle on what you've gained, and then now you're moving on and progressing in whatever that class is or dedication or so forth. Whereas when you're gaining a level every 1 to 2 episodes, it's a lot. It's tough. But what I will say has been interesting is, especially early on, man, we jumped right into the fire with our characters.
Literally.
And
they were putting out a fire in a city hall.
yeah.
Literal, not figurative. Yes.
Yeah. But what was interesting is like my character, and I'm playing for the first time in a long time, playing the cleric of the party. And my character, for several sessions when we would get into a battle, because in my head I'm thinking war priest, cleric, like heal smash. No.
No.
But it took me a few sessions to really learn that, and when Ollie would get smacked down and
dying 1,
and
dying
luckily,
2, dying 3,
right, luckily I had people around me, whether it be Deb playing the cousin to my character or a couple of other people in our party who were there to kind of help heal me and get me into a situation where I could then heal everybody else as the party healer. Those sorts of, like, to what you were just saying, Jason, those sorts of losses, if you will, or defeats definitely have changed the mentality of not just me as a player, but I've allowed them to also take effect in my character to say, okay, you got to slow down. Like, you were gung-ho. Like, in my character's short backstory, his parents were adventurers. He wants to go out on the road and he wants to be a successful adventurer. His cousin, who's a wizard, has come and they want to do something. Like, he's so geared up to do something. And then it's like, the first challenge we actually took care of pretty well. The second or third challenge, though, just wiped the floor with Ollie, and it was like all of a sudden...
And all of a sudden, we're all in big trouble.
Yeah.
Because our healer's gone.
Right. Well, and the realism for Ollie sets in, and it's like, okay, first of all, what you thought an adventure was is definitely not what you're experiencing right now. Second of all, if what your goal is to be a tool for the people that you are around to heal them and take care of them, then you need to first take care of yourself, and running headlong into battle is not the way to do that. And so I've been able to use that as inspiration for changing the trajectory of my character throughout the storyline.
Yes.
If for no outward appearance, at least for the inward storytelling for my character.
It's
and stuff
felt
like
different the last session or
Right.
2, probably. The vibe that you're giving off, it does feel different. Of course, we haven't actually had this conversation.
Right.
But it has felt different in your approach.
Yeah.
And to me, that's one of the coolest parts of watching a progression in a game, whether it's the game that Lance is running for us with that party, or our Age of Ashes party, or slowly our Renlock's Renegades with you, Don.
Yeah.
is initially watching these people that are trying to fit together and not always doing a terrific job.
Yeah.
Watch as that adjustment occurs, and all of a sudden people finally you find your rhythm with the party, and then even as you change that, you find the flow, you find the groove wherever it is.
Yeah.
And I've wondered in the same way, if there's with board games, that's hard when you play it for the first time, but I say there's some
Sure.
board games that I can get out with all of us, and it almost feels like we all just kind of find our groove. Like
Yeah.
there's a way that we like to play, and you play.
Yeah.
We got there with The Captain is Dead. I felt like there was a point where we all just knew this is the character we play. We know how to play it. We're solid with it. It flows really well.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, let's do this. That's fun to me, whether you're in a board game or you're an RPG.
Yeah.
When you finally find that place.
On the other hand, games like, I don't know, Temple of Elemental Evil.
Oh man.
We still haven't
no.
figured out how. We've lost every time we've played that game.
Every time.
And we still have not figured out that we probably should just never play that game.
Do you know that was my very first experience playing D&D when I was
Really?
11,
Oh
12,
my
whatever.
gosh.
Dude,
I'm
Our
so
GM took
sorry.
us into
I'm
the
so sorry.
temple. No, it was actually super fun.
Oh, was
Yeah.
it? Okay,
Oh, man.
because it sounds like
Because
it
we
could have
would-
been terrible.
We would go in, make forays. Someone would die. We'd come back out. We need somebody else. And then have a new character. Find somebody else. And then somebody else would die. Like so, we
Yeah.
get so far. We're like, we gotta
Volunteers
leave again.
tribute.
Because we understood what it was then. We're like
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
edition Dungeons and Dragons was not at all about people surviving.
no,
No, not at all.
that was not
It was
survival.
about how long can you survive?
Survive, and how great can you go out is
Right.
also what it felt like.
What's your
it.
plan? What are your tactics?
That's it.
If you still
How
like,
well do you roll?
if you still like that style of role playing game, please check out Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Their whole
They're
first
real good.
session of the grinder or whatever, where you walk in with like 4 0-level characters and you ultimately spit out one. He's your first level character. Like that's kind of the
That's
idea.
how it goes.
Yeah.
Thaco is still a bad word in my house.
Thaco. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely stuff about second edition that like I'm glad that is no longer there, but I think it has lost a bit of the. It has lost bite now. It's no longer like it's not cool to die all the time. Like I agree with that,
Right.
right? That's not okay. That's not fun. But there really isn't as much danger.
True.
Yeah, it's like we've almost gone the complete opposite, where it's like at all costs keep everyone alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
like that. Really,
It
like
just doesn't seem genuine.
You're
sometimes.
delving, yeah. Like
Yeah.
Look at history. Oh, I'm gonna go. I'm an archaeologist, and I'm gonna go dig up some pharaoh's tomb that's never been in before. I am going to need a little mercenary unit. I'm also going to need a team of diggers. I'm going to need all these people, and you can turn that into a role playing game, right?
Yeah.
But most of those people, when they did that, not most, but I can think of one specific expedition, the Carter expedition. Most of those people died.
Right. I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Not necessarily from being there, but some of them did. Some of them died later from disease.
Yeah.
I think mummy rot came from in D&D.
Right. Right.
Like
Yeah.
so this fantastical thing we have really come from historic examples.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, maybe again it's not fun to die all the time, but that danger is lost a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. I especially so I don't know what are the level of dying conditions in current D&D.
5e? Oh, I have no
Do you
idea.
know?
Oh, it's death saves. You make 3 death saves.
Okay, so
3
it's okay.
successful death saves to recuperate. 3 unsuccessful death saves to be dead.
Okay,
dead.
fair enough. Whereas
DRT.
with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it goes to dying 4 unless you have Die Hardy. You can go
Yeah.
dying 5.
Dying 4 is really dead. You're only
the-
a little dead for the other ones.
It is very
He's only
common.
mostly dead.
only mostly.
It is very common in. I heard somebody say this the other day when you're playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Do not make your character to not get hit. Make your character to not get hit by a critical.
Oh my gosh,
Because you're
yeah.
going to get hit.
Yeah, man.
You're going to take damage. You need to prepare for the fact that your characters are going to go down.
Yeah. Well, and
which is-
criticals are so easy now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
In Pathfinder 2e, I love the like frantic. Oh
Nature
god,
of it, yeah.
he hit me with a crit because it's a nat 20 or 10 over your AC. It's like
Yeah.
Wow, bro.
Wow, that's-
oh, dude.
But it's for fumbles also.
brutal.
That's-
1 or 10 below is also a fumble.
It's brutal, but it changes the dynamic of the
It
game.
does.
Man, I don't know. I'm not.
And here's the funny thing
I'm not
about
so
that.
happy with the swinginess that happens in a lot of stuff now.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about that though is that
Just kind of throw strategy out the window.
especially after each book that we've done so far, I
Yeah.
swear after each book it's almost the exact same scene where like the players are just battered. Sitting
it's
on the stairs or
it's
something.
the end of
Avengers, the original.
Expendables game,
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
or the Avengers.
They're
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Avengers eating shawarma.
Yeah,
That's what we're
exactly.
doing at the
Yeah.
end of every one.
Just sitting at the table going, "What did we do?"
Yeah.
And yet I'm going yeah, I know where I've had this visual I've been sitting on for a few minutes to swing real back to the board game for some reason because we've talked about gaming stories and the experiences that can happen in role playing. And the only thing I can think of is don't overpay for Baltic in a bad Monopoly auction.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Right, cuz
Yeah.
You want to buy Baltic? Why? Because you're on. It's cheap.
No, you
I'll
want to
pay
buy
$1,500 for
So you
Baltic.
can be a
No, you don't want to
slumlord.
pay. Oh, it's okay for me to buy it, but he can't spend $1,500 on Baltic. Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
I'm paying.
That's
I'm,
a great.
I'm-
That's a great meme.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the love of all that's holy, don't pay $1,500 for Baltic.
that's one of those moments, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's okay to live for the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm gonna go down with Baltic in my hand. Oh, you
All right.
do
All right.
that.
You do
All
that.
right.
You do that.
Be a last bankrupted property.
That's it.
So true.
That's it. All right. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Fun stuff. I like it. Okay. So, on episode 238 of the Established Facts, we actually had two. We've got two tonight as well. So we have two facts. The first one, 900 pages, may be too much for even a rules lawyer to decipher. And then the second, Hasbro in 2023 is to gaming as Ghostbusters 3 was to Ghostbusters.
Oh.
So go back and listen to episode 238, our dumpster fire episode.
It was called the dumpster fire. I'm pretty sure.
And what a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
a quick turnaround
who?
on just all of the stuff that
That's almost its own discussion in itself.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is.
Things are different.
Yeah.
Sort
Are
of.
But are they?
Sort of.
I'm over here with
Sort
Jason.
of.
Are
Not really.
they?
Sort of.
It's a trap.
Here's the thing.
Trap.
There's differences in the environment, but maybe not necessarily with particular brands.
A jerk GM is going to be a jerk GM whether you play in an Arctic environment or whether you play in a forest environment. Your GM sucks. Your GM sucks.
And you mean general manager?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean. I mean general manager. Absolutely.
Right.
My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, and other letters like, CEOs and CFO. Anyway,
Yeah.
those
exactly.
other letters. I'm
Exactly.
just saying.
Listen to 238.
You need
You'll
to
know
get
what
rid of
we're
those
talking
people.
about. You'll know what we're talking about. Go back and check it out. Let us know what you think about all the fun stuff that we talked about on the episode. Anyhow, for episode 239 of the Established Facts, our Is the Enemy of My Enemy My Frenemy episode? No?
Oh,
Maybe?
Maybe.
We'll see.
Depends on the day.
Yes.
All right. Number one. Fact number one, I should say. Sorry, this is not the stable, so I don't have to count out loud. Our first fact, character death. I wrote it like 3 different times. Character death instills value. Player death grants 25 to life.
Yep.
And our second, which we can just add on with a comma, Josh is an Elden Ring heretic.
I read it.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Yes, I'm
Josh is an
Ring
Elden Ring heretic.
Sorry.
No, I'll join you on that.
Yeah.
All right,
Apparently,
everybody.
it's a podcast thing. We're all
It's the
apparently just a
Radical
heretic.
Council
Apparently.
against Elden Ring.
That's it. That's it. All right. Well, we love you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 239 of the Established Facts. We love you all, and we will check you later.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Deuces.